So when I'm giving the commentary, do you also try to create the visual corresponding to the words that I speak and create the experience that I am, trying to create through those words? Do you also do that simultaneously? Yes. So that's why commentaries are given. And then when you want to have an experience yourself, then you sit on these similar lines. You also try to use your mind and intellect and recreate that experience. And meditation is mostly, conscious thinking to arrive at an experience which you cannot have otherwise in the world. And when you do that, then what happens is when you increasingly create that experience inside by creating conscious thoughts, then slowly that experience starts becoming your sanskar. And then it requires less and less effort for you to be peaceful and happy all the time, because now peace and happiness created through this conscious thinking or drawing peace and happiness from Baba will slowly become your sanskar. So this is one thing at the outset. And then today Baba first talks about the power of remembrance, or the importance of remembrance, and the importance of humility. So Baba says that you have to do everything with the power of remembrance. You have to use the power of remembrance. Now you see, Baba has given us the knowledge that I, the soul, have committed sinful actions for 63 births. And now there is a burden of sins on me. We were not aware of this earlier, but now we are aware that today Baba says that, sometimes Baba uses this expression that there are souls in the world who are like Ajamil, who are hunchbacks, who are natives. So, Baba uses these words. And sometimes you think that these souls are not me, they are somebody else Baba is talking about. But today Baba says that each one of you is like an Ajamil, or at the end of Kali Yuga. So what is the story of Ajamil? So Ajamil was a Brahmin, but then Ajamil, despite being a Brahmin, he went into vices, and then he created a lot of vicious activity. And then he became like the most vicious person, so especially the vice of lust. And then, but he named his child Narayan. And because he was a Brahmin, so there was one thing which he did was, when he went into the vicious path, he still named his child Narayan. And then when he was on his deathbed, and the demons of, whatever is shown in Bhakti, that the demons of Yamraj, they came to take him, then he was calling out to his son, Narayan, Narayan. And then the servers of God, the servers of Narayan, were passing by through that path at that time. And then they heard that somebody is calling to our God. And then they saved him. So this is the story of Ajamil. So Baba says that we children also, we were pure and we belong to Baba in the last cycle also. And we have traces of sanskars of having love for Baba. But after having entered the copper age, we perform a lot of sinful actions. And that's why we become like this very vicious Ajamil. So Baba says every soul is like that right now. And when we become Baba's children, then we start realizing who we are. But do you know what is the biggest sign of a baggage of sins? So we have from previous classes, we have understood that when there is a big baggage of sins, then your body, your mind won't be absolutely healthy, or your circumstances would not be great, or the state of relationships wouldn't be very favorable. So these are some of the indicators. But what is the biggest indicator of a burden of sins? The biggest indicator is that your mind and intellect will not be on your side. Your buddhi gets corrupt and your mind becomes very confused. Your mind loses clarity, your buddhi becomes corrupt. And then what happens is, your mind and buddhi are those instruments of you, the soul, through which you perform all actions. So you think, you decide. And then what happens is, since they are corrupt, you are not able to make the right decisions and do the right thing. That is the biggest sign of a soul who has a burden of sins on itself. And you see, it will become very easy. So when you have a burden of sins, so your relationships, your body, your mind, your intellect, your circumstances, they will all cooperate with you when you are going to commit more pap. But when you're going to do something good, any good action, these things will start obstructing you. This is the quality of a soul with a burden of sins, and you should know this. This is very important. That's why a sinful soul, in this world, you always say that, the universe is helping me, or the universe is giving me signs to do this or not do that, because when I am about to do something or make a choice, then if my body is feeling very good about it, or my mind is happy about it, or everything is falling into place, and all circumstances are guiding me towards it, then it's a very good thing, and you think that it's the sign of the universe and you should do it. But actually, you should be very wary that when everything is falling into place. Because when you have a burden of sins, then mostly that burden of sins will always help you do the wrong thing very easily. And the intuition of a soul that is corrupted is dictated by Maya. So until and unless you are in Baba's remembrance, you cannot make the right choice. That's the interesting thing. I'll give you one example of one girl, and she came to the center once and she was crying badly. So she was crying so badly that for a moment even I was shaken up with her crying. So I had never seen somebody cry this badly. So when she cried and cried and cried, and then she told me that she is now married, and she was a BK even before marriage. And she said she knew Baba, she recognized Baba, she had love for Baba. And then she said she met this husband of hers, who is now the husband, in Mount Abu. And he was also a BK. And then both of them, they thought that, our frequencies are matching, and then we are both BKs, and it felt wonderful. And she said every time, I used to cross paths, he used to be there all the time, I would see him around, and I felt like it's God's indication that go and get married. And then she got married, and then later she figured out that this boy had some serious personality issues, and then she couldn't deal with all of that, and she was very upset. So what I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes, you think that the universe is directing you in a certain direction, but actually when you are an impure soul, then your body, your mind, your intellect, your sanskars, your physical conditions, the situations around you, the people around you, when they are all supportive, it could be that it's just another karmic settlement, and Maya is actually creating such a favorable situation. And mostly when there is a burden of sins, then whenever you try to do the right thing, whenever you try to follow Srimad, there is a lot of hindrance. And then, in bhakti, we are programmed to think that when things are smooth, then you think God's hand is on you. And when things are a little turbulent and rugged, then you think that God is not on your side. And then what happens is, with that idea of bhakti, you start feeling that maybe God is not on your side, and that's why you're facing so many obstacles. But the truth is otherwise. So when we come to the end of Kali Yuga, and there is a lot of burden of impurity, then it is exactly the opposite. So whenever you try to do something which is according to Srimad, you will face a lot of obstacles. And Baba says that is why on this path, whenever you face obstacles, you have to understand that you need to use the power of remembrance. On this path, you cannot do anything without the power of remembrance. Even, your mind and intellect will not think on the lines of Shiv Baba. So sometimes, when you are not paying attention to remembering Baba, to sitting and considering yourself to be a soul and remembering Baba, then you will not even be inspired to take little steps that Baba tells you. Listening to the Murli, or listening to listening to the Murli, or making very simple choices of food and drink according to Srimad, that also your intellect will not allow if there is no power of remembrance. Do you get this thing? Yes, so you will not be inspired even to take small steps on Srimad. And that is why you need the power of remembrance, because there's a lot of burden of sins which is obstructing you from creating your fortune. And Baba says you need the power of remembrance at every step, because only the power of remembrance will calm your senses down, it will purify you, and it will make you act accurately. It will give power to your buddhi to make the right decisions. And that is why, and Baba says, if you want to purify your food and drink in this Sangam Yuga, then you need to use the power of remembrance. I will give you one example of a similar situation. So there was this one brother, and he was a very big, position holder in a government office. And he was in such a position that he was on tour at least 5 days a week. And then he came to Baba and he became a BK. And then Baba tells children that you have to purify your food and drink. Don't eat, don't eat onion, garlic, or food that is not prepared in Baba's remembrance. Don't eat non-vegetarian food. So Baba tells all of these things. Now he said, Didi, I understand all of this. But you know what? My circumstances are such that I cannot make this choice because 5 days a week I am on tour. And on tour, I'm not having that kind of availability. And I cannot keep cooking my food because I'm in meetings all the time. So I don't have the time to even cook my food. So I told him, brother, you take help from Baba. You don't just decide for yourself what you can or cannot do. Because right now we are impure souls. We can only, what we can only do is create more sin. We cannot create any punya karma at this time on our own. We need Baba. So what you do is you release this intention that I want to purify my food and take power from Baba. Sit in yoga and just, increase your number of hours of meditation and just have this intention. So he said, okay, I'll do as you say because I always do that, but then I don't think, this is going to work. So I said, okay, even if you don't think it's going to work, just have faith that because I'm saying it'll work. So he said, okay. And then he's, one of the biggest qualities that Baba's children have is obedience. So he obeyed. And he just released that intention and he started remembering Baba. And all the time he would remember Baba, he would say, I want to completely follow your Srimad. And he would take the peace, the joy into his heart from Baba. And then, after around 15 days, there was a new peon who joined in his office. And when that peon joined, after 1 or 2 days, the peon shared that he is also a BK and that he is practicing full Srimad of Baba and that he cooks his food on his own and he knows complete cooking. And then, this peon was the one who was allowed to go to tour with this brother. And then and every time this brother went on tour, this peon would go. And then he would cook the food, offer bhog to Baba, and this brother would always have pure food. And this is a practical example I'm giving you of how remembrance will help you purify your food and drink. So even, when there are these extreme situations where you are always on the go and there is no facility to cook because when officers go and stay, they don't have any facility to cook on their own there. So Baba says that, or it could be also that, when you remember Baba, your mind will become so clear of all the ego and confusion that maybe you will also cook for yourself, wake up early and cook for yourself. But Baba says that all this happens when you actually sit and remember Baba. Because without Baba's remembrance, your buddhi, your mind will not cooperate with you and they will not help you create your fortune. You will not be motivated. Have you seen that when you are about to create something, do something wasteful or negative, then your body, your circumstances, everything, they come together and they start helping you. But when you are about to do something according to Baba's Srimad, then there is hindrance from everywhere. And hindrance and obstacles are normal on this path. So let me give a small example that when you are swimming with the tide. So the tide is in a certain direction and you're swimming with the tide, then it is easy. But when you're swimming against the tide, then you cannot expect that swim to be easy. And we are in Kali Yuga, and everybody is becoming more and more Kali Yugi every day. So becoming Kali Yugi is very easy. It is swimming with the tide. But when you want to be Satyugi, then you are swimming against the tide. So it cannot be that you will not face obstacles from your inner self, your outer environment. That's not going to happen. But Baba says, use the power of yoga. And when you use the power of yoga, when you use the power of remembrance, then you will be more powerful than the obstacles. And then the obstacles will give way to you. You don't need to fight with the adversity, or you do not need to blame that adversity and say that I cannot do this because these adverse situations are there. You need to understand that it is normal and natural for that adversity to be there, and you need to use Baba. You need to remember Baba, use Baba's help, and cross over that adversity and do the right thing. So, and this applies to not only food and drink, but to every aspect, to study, to becoming sweet, kind, becoming the person who doesn't give sorrow, to becoming the one who does Baba's seva. In every aspect, you need to take the help of Baba's remembrance. So this is one thing. Then Baba says, along with using Baba's remembrance and doing the right thing, take care that you don't perform negative actions also. Because on one hand, if you are doing, acts on Srimad, and then on the other hand, you're depleting yourself by doing things that Baba has forbidden you to do, engaging in lust, anger, ego, attachment, greed, or actions based on these vices, then Baba says, how will you create a positive karmic account? And then Baba talks about the power of humility. Now, humility is very important because you see, in this world, we are dealing with souls who are very egoistic. Yes, and when somebody is egoistic and vicious, then they may be saying something, doing something which is very wrong. But then it is impossible to make them understand that what they are doing is wrong. Yes. Do you understand this? In the world we say narcissistic personalities. These days you hear this word a lot. And then, when you are around souls who are vicious and who are so egoistic that they think that they are doing the right thing. So, everybody in the world, if you, the interesting thing about narcissistic personality is, you read those traits and you look at anybody, everybody is a narcissist these days. So there is nobody who is not a narcissist. So Baba says that, when you are dealing with souls who are vicious, so when you are under the influence of vice, you are always doing the wrong thing, because vices will not motivate you to do punya karma. And then when you are egoistic, you are not willing to accept that that's the wrong thing. You are always claiming that that's the only right thing to do. And then, there are souls who, who do the wrong thing. For example, somebody beats you up and then, or shouts at you, and then, after some time, they will come and apologize, because they will have one moment where they will feel that I did the wrong thing. But then later on, they will repeat that same action. So this is the kind of environment we are living in. And Baba says that if you start engaging with these souls, then you will waste your Sangam Yugi time. Yes, so do not engage with these souls mentally, emotionally, or do not come into argument or debate, or do not try to convince them that they are wrong and what you are saying is the truth or right. You just understand that you have to do what you have to do according to what Baba says, and you just need minimum obstruction from these souls. And how do you minimize that obstruction? Through humility. So, keep your language very humble, keep your behavior very humble, because in most cases, these relationships are an aspect of past karmic settlement. So you cannot do much about that. So you cannot leave them. You cannot leave them. You cannot live with them. That's the scene we are in these days. So then, what do? You use humility. So you have to keep your language simple. You have to keep it so clean that it doesn't hurt the other person's ego, and you have to find your way through these personalities. So they can continue to be who they are, they can continue to believe what they believe, but you don't have to engage in a conflict with them, and you just stay humble and then find your path. You want to practice celibacy, do that. If the other person beats you up, you have to be very humble and say that, you please cooperate. You are the person who is sensible, and I'm making a good choice, so why don't you cooperate? Instead of saying, you're the most lustful person I've seen, and you are making all the wrong choices, and then entering into a conflict and making it worse, because somebody who is capable of raising their hand, somebody who is capable of harming somebody, you don't need to ruffle their ego and make the situation worse. And if you can leave that person, Baba doesn't say don't leave, but the thing is, even if you leave some person, you have to understand that, have you dissolved all that is within you which attracted you to this relationship? So, even if you leave one person, you will attract a similar person if you have not done the work within yourself. And if you are able to find your way within this personality being who they are, and you are able to deal with everything with humility and find your path and do your thing, then there is no need to leave anybody. But if you're just trying to run away from one situation, then you understand that running away doesn't help, because if you run away from your karma runs after you. And these are all karmic settlements. They are all your karma coming back in some form or the other. So you can't run away from your karma. So this is the thing, So Baba says, use humility. I will tell you one incident. So once I was just, I was taking class, and it was a Murli class going on in the center. And then there was nobody, no sister, no brother that day, only students who had come. So nobody who lived in the center was there. and I was the only one. And then there was one new brother who came, and he came, and he, because I had no option to make him sit in a separate room, so I made him sit in the class. And that day Baba was talking about purifying food and drink, just like today. And then I talked about all of that, and then after everybody left, I had to talk to this brother and give him time for the course, and he and I were only alone in that place. And then he suddenly became very angry, and he said, you started taunting at me as soon as I entered. So I said, no, I don't even know you. Why would I taunt at you? So he said, no, no, you started talking about food and drink because you know that I'm a non-vegetarian. So I said, no, no, I don't know you. So how would I know you are a non-vegetarian? So he said, no, no, you people have third eye, you can see. And as soon as you saw me, you started shouting at me. So, and he got really aggressive. And then I had to, I folded my hand and I said, I'm very sorry if you felt that way. And I'm really, really sorry. I apologize from the core of my heart. And then I didn't mean to say this to you. And then in that process, I took him to the door, and then I told him, please come tomorrow. We will talk. Today I have a phone call to attend. And then I just took him out of the door and closed the door. And you see, in these situations, when you understand that somebody is, and later, that same thing that Baba is talking about, later he wrote 10 messages to me saying he's very sorry for his behavior yesterday. But the thing is, you have to understand when to be humble. If you start arguing with somebody, or if you start, trying to prove your point when somebody is full of vices and ego, it doesn't work like that. So you must know that. And I even told that brother that, you see, you are bigger in age than me. I'm a small girl. I don't even know what is right and what is wrong. So I'm really apologetic. I said the wrong thing. So you have to you have to know when to be humble. Otherwise, you could land yourself in trouble. And it's not about being afraid. It's about being tactful. You have to understand this. It in the world we say, choose your battles. It is very important to choose your battles, because your battles they deplete your energy, and you cannot keep battling everywhere. Baba in the Murli says, you look at the person in front of you, assess their eligibility, assess their personality, and then engage with them. You don't have to make everything an ego issue and start arguing and proving that you're right or this or that. If you see you are in a karmic settlement where it's not possible to make the other person understand, just be humble and find your way. And maybe, what your logic or your sharing or your arguing can't do, maybe humility can do. So maybe, someday that person will understand. So this is something very important that Baba is talking about. And then Baba says one more important thing today, which is, Baba says, you have to promise Baba that even if somebody beats you up, you will not leave Baba's home. Baba says, nobody beats you up in Baba's home. But, even if it goes to that extreme, don't leave Baba's home, because when you leave Baba's home, where do you end up? You end up in a world where there is not only physical violence, but also sexual violence. So, there is a lot of, so the world is a very dirty place. So maybe you are facing many challenges in Baba's home, but then when you go out of Baba's home, the challenges will be more, not lesser. And the interesting thing is, the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. So you think that, when And it's especially about children who start living in the center, when you start living in the center, or you start coming in very close connection with the family, then when you start interacting on a daily basis, then you have clashes of sanskars. And you might feel that this person is not very kind to me, or they are not treating me right, or they are saying what I don't like. But then Baba says, don't fall into that trap of grass is greener on the other side. If the grass is not so green here, it is worse outside. So just stick to Baba, and then again use the power of remembrance. If you can't deal with something alone, keep Baba with you and deal with it. And slowly that karmic account will be settled and it will become better. Your sanskars will start aligning. But don't think about leaving Baba, because leaving Baba is never a solution. It is after 63 births we found Baba. Never leave Baba. Work through every obstacle that comes and stick to Baba. Okay, Om Shanti.